Okay. Verse 1. Chapter 6. Yeah. So, number 5 varaikkum mudichom. So, what 5 we saw was Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So, all essentially, chapter 2 is where the summary of the whole Gita is there. And then with every chapter, you will notice he is explaining or expanding on the same idea that was discussed in chapter 2. Okay. So, Inga Vanda is starting with this is called as Dhyana Yoga. This chapter is called as Dhyana Yoga. So, here the focus will be on the methods. Chapter 3 was more around Karma Yoga. 4 and 5, 4 was more around Sankhya, and then 5 was around Karma Sannyasa Yoga. How do you do karma with the attitude of sannyasa? And chapter 6 is around Dhyana Yoga. So the methods of how to go into Dhyanam. So this particular chapter is focused on those who are ready for contemplation. So upfront, there are verses he is saying that those who are not ready. He is indicating in these verses people who are possibly not ready for contemplation. We need to be able to recognize that. Right? So he goes on to say, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yah sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyah na chakriyah. So which means he's saying that those who are engaged or yogis who are engaged in contemplation have given up the desires or renounced everything. Assuming they have renounced, sannyasis have renounced everything. You are not a real sannyasi unless you've renounced the desires and thoughts. At the same time, if you have renounced work also, then you're also not a sannyasi. A true sannyasi is somebody who engages in action with the right understanding. Right? And this is a problem in the world. You will always have problems of identifying somebody who is dull, tamasic, versus somebody who is completely on the other side, beyond the trigunas. Because both may appear the same. From the outside, both may appear the same. But the difference is one is ignorant and the other is wise. The ignorant one is not engaging in action because of tamas. But the one who is wise, if he doesn't engage in action, it is not because of tamas, because he knows where to engage. The need to engage, where to engage, he knows. So from looking at such people, it will be difficult for us to gauge or understand where this individual is. So what Krishna is saying here is, do not disengage from action. And this message he's been passing on from the start. So if you're taking sannyasa, even when you're renouncing your thoughts, do not disengage in action. Niragnir na niragnir na cha kriyaha akriyaha. Do not become akriya. You have to still engage in action, whatever is required. Then he continues to explain in the second verse, Yam sannyasam iti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. So again, same idea. One does not become a yogi just by renouncing. The real renunciation is the renunciation of the anxiety of the fruits of action, the anticipation of the result of my action, or if I am hand tied, suppose as I'm thinking, if I want to renounce everything and I'm tying my hands, but my head is already thinking about it, constantly thinking, then also there is no renunciation. So renunciation has to happen. It has to happen in a very, very natural order of things. The desires drop in a gradual way. Similarly, how desires drop for a small child for a toy, as the child grows up, it matures, the desire for a toy that it was holding on to with its life. You see, small children, The toy maybe, it would have been battered, it would have been torn, but still if you're going out somewhere, the child will want to bring that toy along. Even if it looks ugly, for the child, it's a very beautiful treasure. So it will not let go. But if you look back, as a child, you would have done it. When you look back, you'll just smile at yourself. Right? You'll say, I was that child who was not able to let go, but now I don't have the same emotion, the same hankering. Now, in the same way, as the hankering for the world slowly drops, then there is a possibility of renunciation really occurring within us. And that is, he's saying, that is real renunciation. Without giving up desires truly, there is no renunciation. You're only running away from reality. Because wherever you go, your mind is there, your desires are there, your vasanas are there, wherever you go. That's what he's saying in verse 2. Verse 3, Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karmam Karma Karanam Uchyate Yoga Arudhasya Tasyaiva Shamah Karanam Uchyate. So there are two words here. Karma Karanam Uchyate, Shamah Karanam Uchyate. So for whom karma is Karanam? Arurukshor Muner Yogam. The one who is in the process of, he's a seeker, he is a beginner, he is an individual who is starting on the journey. For him, karma eva, karma is the only means to get to that understanding. And in contrast, yoga arudhasya tasya eva, the one who is established in yoga, for him, shamah karanam uchyate, silence, settling down, staying within, being established within himself. This is what he should do as yoga. So if you see, on the top is karma yoga, at the bottom is sannyasa yoga in a certain way, right? Why karma yoga? Because for a beginner, because he is not able to control his mind. There is a very beautiful example that Swami Chinmayananda gives. He says, when you're about to mount a horse, arudha means to mount. So when somebody is trying to mount a horse, and the moment you come closer to the horse will get restless. It will not allow you to mount. Okay. At that time, what do you have to do? You would have seen some videos and all. You have to move along with the horse. If the horse is moving there, you move. If the horse starts running, you also start running along with the horse. And you figure out an appropriate time to jump over and mount the horse. Okay. And then the horse comes into your control. And then you can make the horse stay still, or you can make it run. Correct? You can decide whatever you want to do with the horse only after you have mounted the horse. Suppose you're standing by the side of the horse, you're trying to mount, and you tell, calm down, calm down. It will not calm down. It will only be restless. Whenever you try to climb up, it will become restless and it will try to move again. Same thing with the mind. A mind that is restless, you try to tell it, calm down, it will not. It will not calm down. So what you have to do, your mind is restless, your mind is engaged in activity constantly. You have to use activity to mount the mind. Use activity and start doing karma yoga. Which means you start seeing Bhagavan in everything. You start seeing Bhagavan in everyone. You start seeing that life is given to you as an opportunity for inner growth and development. You see life as an opportunity to learn from it and go deeper within. You do actions constantly. You realize that your actions don't necessarily bring the outcome. All of these things you start understanding and you work with it. You work. Karma karanam uchyate. for a arurukshor munir yogam. And then once you've mounted, once you've come to a point where, yes, now I'm stable, I've understood, to some extent, I have now mounted my mind, which means now I am not completely driven by my mind. I can drive my mind. When I come to that, then shamah karanam uchyate, which means now I have to bring the mind to a calmer and a calmer and a calmer state. I have to do sadhana in that direction, to bring silence within, to bring peace within, to bring equanimity within. This I have to then work. My sadhana in the first line is karma. Sadhana in the second line is shamaha. Shamaha is to silence. Okay. So this is what this verse says. Fourth verse is Yadahi nendriyartheshu na karma swanushachyate sarvasankalpam sarvasankalpa sannyasi yoga arudhas tadochyate. Now then question comes, how do I know when I am in control of my mind? Correct? If you're saying, if you're distinguishing, saying that now I am not in control of my mind, so I have to do karma. And then I say, when I'm in control of my mind, I do shamaha. How do I know when I'm in control of my mind? Krishna himself is asking that question and he's responding to this. He's saying, Yada nendriyartheshu, when your sense organs, indriya, are not running behind the sense objects. Na indriya artheshu. When it's not running behind that, when you're not hankering for objects, when you're not hankering for this, that, and the other all the time. All the time, I've got one possession, now I want another, now I want another. And then when I'm losing something, I'm losing my sleep, I'm losing my peace, which means I'm constantly battered by what is happening. Then you know that you are not in control of the mind. The mind is able to drive you. Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi, the one who is now taken sannyasa of his thoughts, of his desires. Yoga arudhas tadochyate. That is the time when you know that you have become yoga arudha. You have climbed up your mind. Tada. See, there is a yada and tada. When, yada means when you know that your sense organs are not running behind the sense objects, and when you are not in constant attachment of things, and when you know your thoughts are not running haywire and you are able to compose yourself in a place, then you know you are at that time tada yoga arudha uchyate. It is said, that is when it is said that you have climbed up your mind, you have mounted yoga arudha, you have achieved yoga arudha. But then it doesn't end there. Okay, Bhagavan Krishna is saying it doesn't end there. Once you know your yoga arudha, then you further intensify your sadhana. You keep intensifying your sadhana. Now you know that, okay, I don't feel like running behind things. I have to do what I need to do, but I don't run behind things. I know what needs to be acquired, what needs to be done to establish the basic needs. I don't run and hanker behind things. Once I am able to evaluate myself, then now I intensify my sadhana of contemplation. And that is this chapter 6. So Bhagavan Krishna is establishing who is ready for contemplation, dhyana yoga. Okay. Then fifth one, this is a very beautiful verse, one of my favorites. Uddharet atmana atmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. It says, by your own self, pick yourself up. The mounting, yoga arudha, the mounting, how do? You spring your leg, you press your leg down and then you jump over and you climb over the horse, right? In the same way, you use your own self, bootstrapping na chuluva. The term called bootstrapping. In computers started, it's the initial, this thing is also called as bootstrapping the computer, which means you're kickstarting your initial ignition. That happens from within the computer itself. So you do it yourself. Ignite yourself and Uddaret Atmana Atmanam, which means by means of the Atma, you raise your own Atma. By Atma in this case, it means yourself. By yourself, you raise yourself. Na Atmanam avasadayet. Do not degrade yourself. Do not put yourself down. Do not put yourself to a much lower status than you want to be in. If you realize that I want to be in this frame of mind, in this state of ecstasy and peace and joy and equanimity, then you yourself don't put yourself down. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhu. For Atma, who is the friend? Atma itself is the friend. You yourself are your friend. Atmaiva ripuhu atmanaha. And who's your enemy? You yourself are your enemy. Okay. So he says, basically, எல்லா தப்புமே என்னதானா? ஆமா. கடைசியில என்ன சொல்ல வரேன்? எல்லா தப்பு நான் தான் பண்றேனா? So this, a lot of people ask this question not in a sense of, yes, I want to understand what is the thing that I did wrong, what is not right, how do I improve? No. They ask this question out of self-sympathy, self-pity. And they want somebody to come and say, no, not all your mistake. You are so good, you are so this, you are so that. Then you feel good. But here he is saying, no, use your own self to raise your own self. Because you are your own friend, you are your own enemy. How much ever the world praises you, it's possible for you to go into depression. How much ever the world criticizes you, it is possible for you to go into samadhi. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that only when you get a lot of praises can you go into samadhi. Right? You think that only if the world praises me, everything, all the action that I'm doing is sattvic and so good and so this, that, and the other, only then I can go into samadhi. Mistaken. Right? It is irrespective of that. At the same time, a lot of people we see, such great celebrities we see, they go into depression. They are standing on the top of the material world, but they go into deep depression. Okay? So, uddharet atmana atmanam, natmanam avasadayet, atmaiva hyatmano bandhu, atmaiva ripuratmanaha. This is a very beautiful shloka or a verse. This is one of the verses that is recommended to be memorized, because you can repeat it to yourself whenever there are situations in the mind pulls you down and also pulls you up. You pull yourself up, but you shouldn't overdo it, right? If you jump too much over the horse, what will happen? You'll fall on the other side. நான் தான் ரொம்ப சூப்பர், நான் என்ன அடிச்சுக்கிறதுக்கு ஆளே கிடையாது.
In the same website, there was in a different shloka, there was a Kabiroda doha where it said, keep critics very close to you, because they will do you more favor than the ones that praise you. Now, they will constantly, they keep saying, you are useless, you are not good. And then that way, you will keep yourself under check.
Correct. Absolutely. That is why Jayalalitha always had show besides her. Anyways.
The college படிக்கச்ச ஹாஸ்டல்ல எகிரி குச்சி போனாங்களா, they will be successful.
Correct. They're all yoga arudaha. So that's also the thing that we need to recognize, that you shouldn't over exemplify or glorify ourselves. No extremes. Pull yourself up when it's required and hold yourself as your own friend, because you know what you need to achieve is fulfillment within yourself. Right? That is key. Okay. We'll pause here for now.
குருஜி எங்களுக்கு சமைக்கணும்.
சரி மாமா. சரி மாமா. ஹரி ஓம். So in the 5 minutes in the meaning பார்த்துட்டு we'll close. பந்துர் ஆத்மானம் ஆத்மா பந்துர் ஆத்மானஸ்தஸ்ய
ஆத்மாத்மனஸ்தஸ்ய
பந்துர் ஆத்மானமஸ்தஸ்ய
ஆத்மாத்மன
பந்துர் ஆத்மாத்மனஸ்தஸ்ய
ஆத்மாத்மனஸ்
ஆத்மாத்மனஸ்தஸ்ய ஆத்மனஸ்தஸ்ய बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैव आत्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. So it continues to explain the same idea where you can become your own enemy. Don't become your own enemy is what he's trying to say. Those who have conquered the mind, they become the friend. The mind becomes their friend. It's like the horse riding over the horse. For those who don't do that, the mind becomes their enemy, right? The mind becomes, so it's essentially like riding over the mind is like riding over the horse. So once you're on top of it, you can then manage it. You can ask the horse to either stay still or the horse to move. You are in charge of it, right? So that is what he's saying here. Jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitah शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मान अपमान योहो. So one who is in this sthita prajna state, or at least relatively in a prashanta state, where his mind is established in thinking about the divine. See, which is one of the reasons things like Bhagavatam and all that are very important works, because it gives you a lot of stories and a lot of content for the mind to mull over. So mind keeps constantly thinking about this variety of things that they are flooded in these texts. Why they've written so many stories and so many drishtanta and instances and all of that? Because if you're wanting, the mind is anyways going to run, let it run in this area. Let it run in this area. It's like in Vrindavanam. If Krishna is there, if you want to run around the area where Krishna is there. This is the idea, the way gopis and all of them lived there, right? If at all you want to play, go play around Krishna. If you want to do mischief, do with him. If you want to study with him. If you want to just while away your time, while away with him, right? So works like Bhagavatam, Devi Bhagavatam, or Srimad Bhagavatam and all of them, and a lot of Puranas, literature, Puranic literature is available for us to mull over and keep thinking about that. Mind keeps revolving around that, around the shlokas there, the meanings there, the instances there, the stories there, right? So this is what he is saying. So then when you bring your mind into that state where you're thinking about Paramatma, Samahitaha, establishing yourself slowly in that, then Mana Apamana Yoho, you are Shita Ushna, Sukha Dukkha, heat, cold, happiness, grief, Mana Apamana, honor, dishonor, heat, cold, happiness, sadness, grief. You kind of slowly start moving away from them impacting you. Okay? This is what this verse says. 8th verse is Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Utastho Vijitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloshtash Kanchanaha. So one who is established by knowledge and having established what knowledge? That I don't want these things to disturb me. I am making a resolve, sankalpa, that I don't want them to disturb these things to disturb me, because I know these things will keep changing. It will make me feel happy today, it will disturb me tomorrow. I don't want them to come and impact me. And then he will not, basically he will not be discriminating in the world, which means he will look at loshtra, which is pebbles, and kanchana, gold, as similar. Sama loshta, loshtashma kanchanaha. Loshta ashma kanchanaha. Loshta is pebbles, Ashma is stone, and Kanchana is gold. You look at all of this in the same way. Next verse is Suhrun Mitrar Yudasina Madhyasthad Veshya Bandhushu. Bandhushu, Dveshya Bandhushu. Stadveshya Dveshya Bandhushu Sadhushvapi cha Papeshu Samabuddhir Vishishyate. So in the same way, as you see things, you don't discriminate things. Now you don't discriminate people. Friend, foe, all of that. You're my relative, not my relative, my people, my colleagues, my friends. So this mamata, the more this mamata grows, aham mama. This is the root cause of all of the troubles. I and mine. So the more we start dissolving this, see, it doesn't mean that somebody who is a sannyasi, he doesn't say that, this is mine, shoulder the kade. They will also say, these are my students. Those who are teaching, they will say, these are my students. They are not my students. These are my people. All of that, right? These belong to my community. This is our temple. This is our guru. This is my Perumal. I've seen people who have been established in things like this also refer to a temple or a Perumal and say that, like, for example, if your parampara or if your this thing is in Uppaliyappan, you'll say this Uppaliyappan is our Perumal. What do you mean our Perumal? So like this thing we have to slowly dissolve. Right? It's not easy. But as long as we notice in ourselves, and I have seen this in places, in institutions, and even in spiritual organizations, they'll say it is our Guru. Our Gurudev. In comparison with somebody else's. It's my Guru, yes. Within you recognize it. But then you don't use it to discriminate in conversations. Right? My Swamiji. So this mamata is also something that we need to notice. Similar to how we don't want to discriminate amongst objects, like gold versus stone, rock. In the same way, friends versus foe. Samabuddhi, have samabuddhi. It may not be easy. If you see your own person somewhere in the crowd, you will want to associate with them. You will want to go and meet them and talk to them and hey, hi. That is not wrong. But you discriminate somebody else is the problem. And also noticing that, yes, I am getting drawn to things that I know, that I am associated with. That recognition is also important. We need to recognize that. Then slowly it will dissolve. Then yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah. Then the yogi becomes slowly established, like shown in the picture here. There will be sunlight falling on his head. He'll be sitting on a rock. Okay. That is the image of dhyana we carry, right? That is not necessarily the way it will be. But it's representative of a state of mind. What you see on the image here on the right side doesn't mean that is the way you will always be sitting like this with closed eyes. Even this guy, if it was a real photo, would have posed here for a few hours and then after that he has to get up and go and do his duty, do his work. Okay. But the important thing is, in his Atma, he is rahasi sthitah. He is always established in meditation. Ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. He doesn't hanker for desires. Aparigraha. It is one of the yama. It is one of the yamas, right? Shiva. Pancha yamas. Aparigraha. So one who is now residing within himself in that state, he doesn't hanker for these desires. Okay. So with that, we will close today. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmana va Prate Swabhavat Karomi Yat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayati Samarpayami Sadashivayati Samarpayami Jagadambikayati Samarpayami Sadguru Nathayati Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sat Guru.